Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get to use those personal initiative. What is that? That's the go-getter energy that moves me, you, him, and her to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy. There's a book, this show, this daily masterclass that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic: what would the person who I want to be do in this situation? The person who I want to be, what would they do here? That's today's topic. That is a question. That is in quotation marks, everything that I said here. What we're going to talk about today is a decision-making framework that will help you a whole lot with not only what you do, but also who you are being. The being portion of the be, do, have equation. That equation being, you knowing what you want to have in life. A lot of people go straight into action and doing a lot of stuff, hoping to produce a result, but they never ask themselves, who do I need to be as a person? I'm going to help you with that being part here today. The being, which will lead to the doing, which will, of course, lead to the having. So you need to refer back to this framework that I'm going to share here today. Every time you face a challenge in your life and you are unsure how to handle it, it's much easier for us to look at a situation from somebody else's point of view. Especially, it's much easier for us to look at our own situations from someone else's point of view than it is for us to look at them from our own point of view, because we are so emotionally attached to our own lives. So if you look at your own situations and challenges in life and start asking yourself, all right, if I wasn't me and I was this person who you want to become, this person who has what I want to have, how would they respond to it? It would be much easier for you to see through to that answer clearly and dispassionately, which will tell you what you actually need to do. Now, it may not be so clear and dispassionate for you to actually do it, but we're going to get into that once we get into this framework. So refer to this framework every time you have a challenge and you are unsure of how to handle it. Point number one, asking this question is a habit. The topic, once again, what would the person who I want to be do? This habit, if used consistently, forces you into becoming the person you see yourself as, because you're going to start thinking like them. This is point number one, by the way. This habit of asking this question, person who I want to be, what would they do here? When you use it consistently, will make you start becoming that person, because you're going to start thinking like that person. What would this person do? All right, you're going to get the answer. All right, now you remember that. Now the next time you're going to ask that question, you're going to get the answer. Now you remember that. And then you can keep doing that over and over again. If you are, for example, building a business, your default when you first start a business is to pretty much do everything on your own. That's usually how it works when businesses first start up. But the question, if you ask it over time, will tell you, hey, if you want to build a company, maybe you should hire somebody to do this thing, since it's not in your wheelhouse, or it's something that you're terrible at, or it's something that you hate, or it's something that you know you're going to need other people for sometime in the future. Maybe you should go find somebody else who can do this job. Maybe you need to get an employee. Maybe you need to outsource. Maybe you need to stop doing it completely. Maybe you need to go find a partner. If you ask the question, it'll tell you these things. Maybe you should go do this thing instead of doing what you normally do. When you change who you are being as a person, meaning change the way that you think, change the way that you see yourself, you change your energy, you change your approach, your mental and emotional approach. It infects what you do, the actions that you take. Again, when I talk about my book, The Mirror of Motivation, when you change your energy, the way that you're being as a person, you could take the exact same actions that you were taking before and you will get completely different results. Why? Because your energy changed. The way that you approach the effort completely changes. When you change who you're being, it infects what you do, which will create your results. In other words, what you have. So asking this question again, this is where your becoming is going to start to change. Who you're being as a person will change here, even though the question you're asking is about doing, but doing starts with a thought, right? Every action that you take, usually there's a thought that precedes it. All right, why am I doing this? Oh, because of this. I'm trying to do this, or I want to do that, or I want to do that. So the preceding thought leads to the actions that you take. And if you change your preceding thoughts, which you will by asking yourself this question, what would this person do instead of what do I normally do? Because if you don't have to act, you don't have to think about what you normally do. It's usually a habitual response. It's an ingrained response. But you can change your habits, change your habitual response by continually asking yourself this question consciously and constantly. What would the person who I plan on becoming, what would they do in this situation? It will start to change the way that you're thinking, which will affect your actions, which will, of course, as I said, affect your results. Point number two, Today's topic is the framework of what would the person who I plan on becoming do in this situation. Point number 2, what we're talking about here is forced growth. This is forced personal development. If you are already this person, if we just think about it this way, you are already the person who you're saying, what would they do? You wouldn't be using them as the answer to the question that's today's topic. And you would already be making these choices. So for example, if I'm a football player and I say I want to become a starting running back in the NFL, but right now I'm a high school running back, and I'm about to do a workout and I'm not quite feeling up to it, and then I ask myself this question. You remember what Dre told you on the Work on Your Game show? You say, all right, what would the person who I plan on becoming do? What would a starting running back in the NFL do? I'm a high school player. I don't feel like doing this workout, but what would a starting NFL running back do in this situation? If you ask the question, and then you get the answer, and the starting NFL running back will work through that workout because they know that a professional shows up every single day and does their job regardless of how they feel, because you heard Dre say that on the show many times. If you are already the NFL starting running back, you are already doing those things, you wouldn't have thought of them as an answer to the question in the first place. You would have thought of somebody else, and you would already be making the right choices. So the fact that the answers to the question, what would the person who I plan on becoming, what would they do? The fact that the answer to that question is going to be different from what you would normally do had you not asked the question is the exact proof that you haven't yet become that person, which means you are telling yourself exactly how you need to think and what you're going to need to do to become that person. This is the exact framework that you need to grow into the person you plan on becoming. First of all, you got to know who you plan on becoming. Once you have that answer, when you ask this question, that is the exact proof to you that you haven't become it yet, which doesn't mean anything's wrong with you. It just means you need to continue to ask the question, continue to change your thinking, your habitual thinking, which will lead to your actions, which will lead to the results that you get. This question forces you to start thinking differently from how you have been thinking, which will in turn push you out of your comfort zone, which will in turn force growth on you and force you to get different results in your life. So if you look at your life right now and you want a different set of results from what you have been getting, you work backwards from that. How do you get a different set of results? You got to step out of your comfort zone and take some different actions. Everyone agree with that? That you're not going to get different results from doing the same actions over and over again. You know the definition of insanity, right? So to get those different results, you're going to take some different actions. Now, in order for you to take different actions, you're going to have to change your mind and change your thinking and change your habitual thoughts about why you're taking certain actions, what actions you're taking, and what results you think they're going to produce. Because if you keep going along with your habitual thoughts that lead to certain actions, you're going to keep getting the exact same results. So if you're happy with all the results you're getting in your life right now, and you don't want anything to change, you want to maintain the status quo, fine, you don't need to listen to the rest of this, and you can just move on to the next episode. But if you're looking for some different results in your life, the way that happens is you must move out of your comfort zone through your actions. And the way you move out of your comfort zone action-wise is first you got to move out of your comfort zone thought-wise. Stop allowing yourself to think the same habitual unconscious thoughts. Challenge your thinking by asking yourself this question. The person who I want to become, what would they do that's different from what I'm doing? I guarantee you there will be an answer if you're a person who's looking to become something other than what you already are. And I'm assuming that since you're listening to a show called Work on Your Game, you plan on becoming something bigger and better than what you are right now today. So when you ask the question, you're going to get an answer that is different from what you would normally by default do, which means you're going to do something that's different from what you would normally default do. So the first thing should be what you would normally by default think. Then you're going to do something that's different from what you would normally by default do, which is going to lead to a result that is different from what you would normally by default have. You follow everything I said there. If you didn't, please rewind that. This is what forced growth is. Asking yourself different questions. I got a book called Ask Yourself a Better Question. You can get that at workonmygame.com/ask. When you ask yourself a different question, you will get a different answer. And if you are disciplined enough to follow through, that different answer will lead to different actions. And if you're disciplined enough in following through on those actions consistently, those different actions will lead to different results. That's the way that it works. That's the be, do, have principle. That's the way it is applied is be, do, have. The way you think about it is have, do, be. You think about the results you want, what action you need to take, who do I need to be as a person. So it is applied, be, do, have, but it is planned, have, do, be. You follow me? Point number 3. Today's topic is what would the person who I want to be do? Or the person I plan on becoming, what would they do? Understand that you must be disciplined enough to follow the answers to the question. You ask yourself, what would the person who I plan on becoming do in this situation? You have to have the discipline that when you get that answer, since I just explained to you and you already understand, when you get that answer, it's going to be something different than what you've been doing. There's going to be a different answer than what you would by default do. Because if it was the same, you would already be that person, right? So since the answers are going to be different, they will probably move you out of your comfort zone because it's something that you're not used to doing. It will probably be something that may not be very convenient for you. It may be something that's going to push you to do something that you didn't really want to do. Maybe it's going to push you into a state of vulnerability that you didn't want to get into. Maybe it's going to push you into taking some risk or putting yourself in a position that you just didn't want to put yourself into. But this is all part of the process of you growing. All right, the process of growth is not always easy. It requires you to step outside of your comfort zone. Everyone who understands the concept of the comfort zone, which is damn near everyone, especially if you're listening to this show, you understand that you cannot grow by doing the same things that you've always been doing. Do you agree with that? Good. Since you do understand, you're going to have to change your actions, and to change your actions, you got to change your thoughts. All right, it's hard to do different actions if you haven't changed the way you think about actions. Why would you do anything different if you got the same thoughts as you had yesterday? You probably wouldn't. It's a trick question. So when the thoughts change, then the actions will subsequently change. But you must be disciplined enough to ask the question. Then when you get the thoughts, you got to be disciplined enough to follow through with action. If you ask this question and you just ignore the responses that you get from yourself and you just continue to do what's comfortable for you, you will not grow as a person. You will remain in the same place. You will not expand your comfort zone, and your life will just be one long status quo. If that's what you want, I'm sorry for wasting your time, but you are listening to the wrong show. This question does help, but only if you respect the question enough to apply the answers. And I want to say one more time, the answers to this question will not be comfortable, nor will they be convenient, but they guarantee growth. If you want to grow, if you know what person you plan on becoming, if you know what you want to have in your life, you get all those things in place, I guarantee the growth is coming if you have the discipline to follow through. And you can learn how to put those things in place, this plan and who you want to be as a person in place through the mental workbook, which you can access at workonmygame.com/workbook. workonmygame.com/workbook. The mental workbook will walk you through the entire process of figuring out who you want to be as a person, how you want to be that person, what type of energy you need to conduct yourself with, what kind of actions you're going to take, and the results that you want to get in life. Again, mental workbook, workonmygame.com/workbook. Let's recap today's class, which is the question: what would the person who I want to be do in this situation? This is a decision-making framework that will help you not only with the doing, but the being portion of your life. Point number one, this habit, if used consistently, forces you into becoming that person that you see yourself becoming, because you're going to start thinking like that person. When you change who you are being as a person, it will affect your actions, even if they're the same actions, if you've done a different way, and it will change your actions, of course, which will create different results. Point number two, this is forced growth. If you are already that person, you wouldn't be answering the question by saying something different than what you would normally do. You would already be making those choices. So this question forces you to start thinking differently from how you've been thinking, which will push you out of your comfort zone, which will force growth on you, which again will not be comfortable and not convenient, but I guarantee the payoff will be worth it. And point number three, you must be disciplined enough to follow the answers that you get. If you ask this question and just ignore the responses and just do what's comfortable for you, you will not grow. You will remain in the same place. If you're looking for it to stay at the status quo, that's fine, but you're listening to the wrong show. This is not a status quo aimed show. This show is aimed at growth and people who want to get better and do better and produce. That's why it's called work on your game, not stay in the same place on your game. This question does help, but only if you respect it enough to ask the questions, listen to the answers, then apply the answers consistently enough, and you got to know where you're going. The mental workbook will help you with that. This show will help you with everything else. Work on your game. Dre all day.